All right, we're on complement exercise 3, identifying direct objects, indirect objects, predicate nominatives, and predicate adjectives. And I started this yesterday and my internet died. So let's go over sentence number 1. So the first thing we did is went through and identified the prepositional phrases. After this is a prepositional phrase of the king of Egypt, against their Lord, and of Egypt. And I mark those out because we will not find a direct object, an indirect object, a predicate nominative, a predicate adjective, or a subject of the sentence inside the prepositional phrase. So we go back at some time as an adverb, it tells when. So the cupbearer is the subject, baker is the subject. Our verb is committed, it is an action verb. So if we have an action verb, then we look for a direct object. So the cupbearer and baker committed what, who or what, and offense is the direct object. Okay, number 2, Pharaoh is a subject, was is a linking verb, angry is a predicate nominative modifying Pharaoh. And then for everything with his officers, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, those are prepositional phrases. He is a subject, put is an action verb, so them is the direct object. And Joseph was confined is also a subject and a verb. So we have 3 clauses in that sentence. Let's go to number 3. This is where I lost internet. We have of the guard is a prepositional phrase. To be is an infinitive. With them is a prepositional phrase inside of the infinitive phrase. So captain is the subject. We're going to underline that one time. And appointed is our verb, so we'll underline that twice. And then we have to identify the type of verb, and appointed is an action verb. So then we ask, the captain appointed who? The captain appointed what? Joseph is the answer to that, and so Joseph is the direct object. Okay, and then we go to the next part of the sentence. He is our subject, so we'll underline that one time. Oops. Okay, attended is a verb. We'll underline that twice. Identify the type of verb. Attended is an action verb. Therefore, we're looking for a direct object or an indirect object. So he attended who? He attended what? The answer to that question is them, and them is a direct object. Number 4, let's find our prepositional phrases. So for some time is a prepositional phrase, and in custody is a prepositional phrase, and our subject is they, and continued is our verb, and that is all we have in this sentence, so we do not have to identify anything else. Number 5. Let's find our prepositional phrases. Of the king is a prepositional phrase. Of Egypt is a prepositional phrase. In the prison is a prepositional phrase. With its own interpretation is a prepositional phrase. So we know that we will not find our subject, a predicate nominative, a predicate adjective, direct object, or indirect objects inside the prepositional phrases. So I'm going to mark through those so that we don't get confused. Okay, so we come to the beginning of the sentence. Okay. One night tells when, that is a direct, an adverb. So they is our subject. Underline that with one sentence, one line. Dreamed is our verb, and that is an action verb, so we're going to identify that as an action verb. Now we have one night they both dreamed, the cupbearer and the baker. So we have this hyphen here, and usually that tells us that we just have some more information that we don't know what to do with. So the cupbearer and the baker really goes back and describes they. So this is an adjective phrase, so we don't have a direct object in that part. The next part is who is the subject, and were confined is the verb. Underline that twice. And it is an action verb, so we'll identify that as an action verb. And then they, who were confined who were confined what. Again, we don't have anything in that sentence. Each his own dream, and each dream modifies who. So, and I purposefully put these kind of sentences in this exercise because I want you to be able to see that not everything, even though that's what we're looking for, it's not going to have it, and you need to be able to figure out what is what. And so it's a good exercise whenever there's not one. So let's go to the next one. First thing we're going to do is identify our prepositional phrases. To them is a prepositional phrase. Oops. I'm on a different keyboard today, so it's a little different. In the morning is a prepositional phrase. So Joseph is our subject. We'll underline that one time. Came is a verb. I'm going to underline that twice. Came is an action verb. I'm just going to put AV. Okay. And then we have this comma right here. So that's a good indication that that's all of this particular clause. So I'm going to leave it alone and not look for anything else. And let's come back, and here we start with another subject. So he is a subject. Saw is an action verb. Okay. Then we have this word that, and we learned that that is a relative pronoun, and a relative pronoun begins a subordinate clause. So we're going to have another subject and verb. They is a subject. We're going to underline that once. Were is an action verb. I'm sorry, am is are was were. That is a linking verb. So we're going to identify that as a linking verb. And then the word troubled is a predicate. It is, they were troubled. Well, actually, were troubled is the verb. Is that right? Hang on, give me a minute. So what this troubled is doing is it's describing they. Even though it is a verb, it is acting as an adjective. And so we're going to label that as a predicate adjective. This is what we call a participle. So troubled describes they. Okay, let's go to number 7. The first thing we're going to do is identify our prepositional phrases. With him is a prepositional phrase. In custody is a prepositional phrase. In his master's house is a prepositional phrase. So let's find our subjects. He is a subject. Underline that once. Asked is an action verb. So we'll underline that twice and write AV. Okay, he asked who. He asked what? Well, he asked who is Pharaoh's officers. So the word officers is our direct object. And there's not an indirect object because Pharaoh's is telling which officers. So that's all the words that we have in between the verb and our direct object. So let's go to the next part. Who is a subject? Underline that once. Were is a linking verb. Underline that twice. But we have this comma here and we don't have anything after that. So we come to the next clause. Faces is our subject, and are is a linking verb. We'll underline that twice and identify that as a linking verb. And downcast is a predicate adjective, and it describes faces. And I know it's kind of crazy because it's all mixed around, but it's a question, and you know that our subject and verb are inverted when we have a question. So I hope you got that one. That one was fun. All right, let's go to number 8. First thing we do is find our prepositional phrases. To him is a prepositional phrase. To interpret them is an infinitive phrase. So we're going to mark that off. Okay. So they is our subject, underline that one time, oops. And said is a verb. Okay, and it is an action verb. So we're gonna identify that as such. They said who, they said what. We don't have an answer to that. Let's go to the next part. We've got this comma, and then we have, so I always kind of work in between the commas. So if you're ever wondering, stop at the commas. So we is our subject, underline that once, have had, underline that twice. That is an action verb. We have had what? Dreams. Dreams is a direct object. Okay, and no one is our subject. Is a linking verb. Underline that twice. Okay, and identify it as a linking verb. So no one is who, no one is what. Well, we don't really answer those questions. The only thing that answers that is there. There is an adverb telling where, so we don't have no one is there. No one is. Nope, we don't have anything. So we don't have a predicate nominative or a predicate adjective after that. All right, let's go to the number 9. To them is a prepositional phrase. To God is a prepositional phrase. And to me is a prepositional phrase. And Joseph is our subject. We'll underline that one time. Said is an action verb. So underline that twice and indicate that is an action verb. Action, not a linking. Okay, Joseph said who, Joseph said what. We don't have anything after this comma, so we're going to move on. We don't have a direct object there. Do not interpretations belong to God. So interpretations is our subject. Underline that once. Do belong is our verb. We'll underline that twice. Okay, do belong is an action verb. So interpretations do belong to what, for what, oh no, do belong who, do belong what. And we don't have anything that answers that because this prepositional phrase here ends our sentence. So we do not have anything in that sentence. So let's come to the next part. We have an understood you for a subject. You is our subject. Underline that once. And tell is a verb. Please is an adverb. You tell who, you tell what, them. Them is a direct object. All right, number 10. To Joseph is a prepositional phrase. To him is a prepositional phrase. In my dream is a prepositional phrase. Before me is a prepositional phrase. On the vine is a prepositional phrase. So let us draw a line through these so we don't get confused when there's a lot of them. So we will not find a direct object, an indirect object, a predicate nominative, a predicate adjective, or a subject inside of our prepositional phrases. Now, sometimes the prepositional phrase could be the subject, but that's rare. I think we've seen that one time. Okay, so let's go here and find our subject. Cupbearer is our subject. What did the cupbearer do? He told, so let's underline that twice. Told is an action verb. So we can ask our questions. Cupbearer told who? Cupbearer told what? Told what? Dream is our direct object. We do not have an indirect object. Okay, and then we have said is an action verb. Underline that twice, identify that as, okay. Cupbearer said who, cupbearer said what. We don't have anything. Now we have a comma that tells us we're on a whole new clause, so we're looking for another subject and verb. So vine is our subject, was is a linking verb. Underline that twice and identify that as a linking verb. Okay, vine was who? Oh, vine, nothing renames a vine. I think the word there tells where, so that's an adverb. And the same thing was three branches were there. So we have branches as a subject. Were is a linking verb, but we do not have any predicate nominatives or predicate adjectives. Okay, count up the number you have correct and put it over 117 and then divide it by 117 and get your percentage. And that is all we have for our complements. So maybe you can go and take the quiz now.